Hello and welcome back to Rappahannock Issues, special election night. We are getting some initial results in. As I say, what matters now is yours and my votes, and we are starting to get some votes. I'm going to just start off here with the Rock Hill District. I've made a point of trying to do Rock Hill tonight because it's where I live. And we have some school board results there with 68% of the vote in. We show the incumbent, Patricia Healy, with 65% of the vote. Her opponent, Dean Federoff, with 34%.
Okay, and we move to the George Washington District, my neighborhood, with 71% of the vote in. We have Dwayne McOsker with 38%, Donna Oliver with 36%, and then Carol Hubner-Medawar with 26%. Clerk of Court with 61% of the countywide vote in. Stern is up 10,158 to Dakota's 3,396. You want to do the Commonwealth Attorney?
Yes, with 61% of the vote reporting in Stafford for the Commonwealth Attorney's race between Tim Barbaro and Eric Olson, the incumbent. We're showing Eric Olson, the incumbent, with 63% of the vote to Tim Barbaro's 35%. So right at the moment, I'd say that looks like definitely Olson's to win.
Yeah. And then we move to Sheriff in Stafford. Decatur has 9,028 to Feldbush's 2,191. So I think we're seeing with these countywide races, the Republican apparatus and the vote, get out the vote, the Charlie Jett and the sheriffs, the Republican Party are coalescing to help the Republican brand, which tends to happen in these off-term elections. In Spotsy, we have a school board with about 50% of the vote in. Blaine, the incumbent, has 1,118. Davis, the challenger, has 925. So about halfway through, and it's almost 50-50. So that's, as we said, it seems like the school board races might be very close to look at.
Well, and I'm still, when it comes to Rock Hill, and the same for Griffiths-Widewater, I'm very anxious to see what comes in on those Board of Supervisors races. The issues there are somewhat different than the school board races. You're dealing with some folks who've been in office a very long time in very public positions, a lot of money spent, and though I've got my predictions, I just don't know how some of them are going to break out.
We started the evening by talking about the Stafford races. We didn't really get too far into
No, we didn't.
And Dick talked about the Cortland district, which was Kingman versus David Ross. Ross is in his first term. He's been on our show before. In 2011, when Ross won, it was a 51-49% vote. So that it would be interesting because if it seems it's going to be, he didn't win it by a large margin, so that's a interesting district for him. The Livingston district, which is the far southern end of the county, you have Greg Benton, who's a firefighter, is a Republican, and this is, I think, the only Democrat.
The only Democratic candidate.
On the whole ticket in Spotsy, and that's Bob Martin, who's basically that's a seat that's open because Ann Heidig was trying to get the Republican nomination. She didn't get it. Benton beat her out for it in a party caucus, and so it's theoretically an open seat. And she was one of the ones when dealing with baseball that there was sort of some question about which way she was going to go.
Well, she was very much on the fence, and her opposition tended to say, well, if you're on the fence, then you might be for it. And that was enough in a caucus, which was very tight. She lost by only about maybe 3-6 votes. And she was encouraged to go and try and run as an independent, but she said, I'm a Republican, and she abide by the result.
Yep. We're still waiting some results for some of the other races. We talked a little bit, you asked Dick Hammerstrong about the House of Delegates races. The second district is the northern part of Stafford, a part of Garrisonville and Griffiths-Widewater, and then heads up into Prince William County.
Actually runs, yeah, it's an interesting seat because it runs all the way from the Stafford County border on the eastern side of 95, almost all the way to Fairfax County.
Right.
Takes in Dumfries and way up north towards Woodbridge. It's just a big, long district.
It is, and it's sort of an interesting district. You have Mark Dudenheffer, who's running for the seat again. He won it 4 years ago, then 2 years ago lost it to Mr. Futrell, and now he's trying to get it back. And this district you were saying is interesting. 55.85% of the district is in Prince William County, and only 44% is in Stafford. And we got the impression watching the race that Mr. King was spending a lot of time and effort on bringing out the vote in the Prince William County, and Mr. Dudenheffer was doing a great job. Thank you, Michael. On bringing out the vote in Stafford. So it's sort of an interesting, they were playing to their base. This was really a base election where the parties just go solidly to their base. You wanted to talk about Rock Hill, so
yes,
Rock Hill supervisor.
We have some very conclusive results in Rock Hill District. Again, that's the one where we had Paul Wodowski, Wendy Moore, and Bob Gibbons, the former 4-time supervisor, running against each other. Lively race, surprisingly friendly race too. Wendy Moore looks like she has, with 82% of the vote in, I think it's safe to say, looks like she's won this seat with 57% of the vote. Bob Gibbons has 35%, and Paul Wodowski 6%. And I would say this about this race: it was one of the nicest, most friendly races we had in the county. It was hard to get one candidate to say anything bad about the other. In fact, they didn't.
Right, and it was pointed out. There is 18% of the vote still out, so it could break all Gibbons' way. But I mean, 57 to 35 is a pretty big chunk. In the school board race,
Tom's cautious on calling these things.
That's right.
Yes.
Healy is up by 52 to 47 now, with 79% of the vote.
It's a little closer now.
So it's a little bit closer. So those are the results we've had so far. I think we have some great volunteers that are here tonight to help us with getting results and bringing them in. The next this House district that we can talk about is the 28th district, which was Bill Howell had a spirited primary challenger, and now he's going against Candy Hilliard. This district is 86% in Stafford and 14% in the city of Fredericksburg, but the only thing on the ballot in Fredericksburg is
that's right
now. And it'll be interesting because in the primary, Bill Howell won by 62 to 38%. And so it'll be interesting to see how that stacks up. Candy was a former supervisor from the Playa district.
That's right.
And about 10 years ago, and so it'll be an interesting race that way. You might as well we have some numbers come right in, and we have about 30 seconds, so if Michael scampers in with a smile on his face, thank you,
yes.
Michael. Sheriff, we have Decatur up with 96% of vote in. Decatur is up 78 to 20 with 96% in Griffiths-Widewater. You have Fallon at 55%, Reinbold at 43%, and then for the supervisor with 89%, Cavalier at 61%, and Braxton at 37%.
I think we can call that one.
I think so too, and I think we can call you to come back after the break so that we will have some more results and some more guests. So come on back.